Jamaica continues exploring legislative steps to become a republic by removing King Charles III as head of state. Welcome to episode 47. We're diving deep today into Jamaica's push to become a republic. You've sent over some really fascinating reports and official documents, and it looks like a nation on the verge of a really big change. So what we want to do today is unpack where things stand right now, what the biggest points of debate are, and what this could mean for Jamaicans.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a really comprehensive picture here. You've really assembled everything we need. And I think what we're going to see is, as you mentioned, a nation that is really grappling with some pretty profound questions about its own identity and its future. We'll be looking at the progress, the concerns, and the way Jamaicans are reacting to it all. I think that's crucial to understand.
Right. Okay, so in practical terms, what actual steps have been taken towards Jamaica becoming a republic? I mean, what's happening on the ground legislatively?
Well, the most significant development recently was the tabling of the Constitution Amendment Republic Act 2024 in Parliament back on December 10th of last year.
Last year. Wow, okay.
Yeah, and this was presented by the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Marlene Malahoo Forte. Now, this bill is really at the heart of the push for republicanism.
It's the main thing.
Yeah, you could say that. Its main goal is to do away with the constitutional monarchy as it stands.
So no more King Charles as the head of state?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it proposes a pretty fundamental change, replacing the British monarch with the Jamaican president. But the interesting thing is, it goes beyond just that.
Okay, so what else is in this bill?
Well, it also includes provisions to really solidify Jamaica's national symbols within the Constitution. There's a redefining of what it means to be a Jamaican citizen and a strengthening of the procedures for future constitutional amendments. It's quite comprehensive.
So it's not just about the head of state. It's kind of a broader update to the Constitution in a lot of ways.
That's right. It's kind of a package deal in a way.
Okay. So this bill, what does it need to go through to actually become law? I mean, it's not just introduce and then boom, that's it, right?
Oh, not at all. It's a multi-stage process. First, it needs a two-thirds majority vote in both the House of Representatives and the Senate.
So both houses of parliament.
Right. And then comes the really big one, a national referendum. The people of Jamaica get to vote on whether or not they support these changes. It's a pretty big deal.
A referendum. Wow, that's a huge step for the country. Okay, so the timeline here shows it was being reviewed until March of this year. So where does it stand right now?
As far as we know, the review period ended in March 2025. And now it's on to the next stage, which is more readings and debates within Parliament. And of course, this is where the fine-tuning happens. Members of Parliament will really get into the details and maybe suggest changes.
Makes sense. So, this whole push to become a republic, it didn't just come out of nowhere. Jamaica has been independent since 1962, right? But it's kept the British monarch as head of state this whole time. What's driving this really strong move towards changing things now?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's been a long time coming. And while there have always been voices advocating for a republic, it seems like it's really gaining momentum now. Prime Minister Holness has made it clear that this is a priority for his administration.
He's really pushing for it.
He is. And, it really comes down to a desire for what many are calling true liberation. There's this sense that this is a really crucial step in completing Jamaica's journey to full independence.
True liberation's powerful phrase. What does it actually mean in this context? I mean, what are the real implications beyond the symbolic shift?
Well, it speaks to a desire to completely own Jamaica's sovereignty, to shed those remaining symbolic ties to colonialism. And it's about really honoring the struggles of those who came before, especially those who endured the harsh realities of colonial exploitation. Many feel very strongly that having a monarch who's from another country as their head of state just doesn't represent who they are as a nation anymore.
Right, yeah. So it's more than symbolic then. What tangible everyday changes would Jamaicans actually see in their lives if this happens?
So some practical changes would definitely come into play. For instance, laws would no longer be enacted in the name of the British monarch. Instead, they'd be passed by the Jamaican Parliament and signed by the Jamaican president. And in legal proceedings, instead of the Crown, it would be Jamaica, or the state. And in courtrooms, they would replace God Save the King with God Save Jamaica. It's subtle, maybe, but it's a real shift in how the authority of the state is expressed and understood.
Right. It's like the language of the law itself is changing. So while the government seems committed to moving ahead, we also have these strong counterpoints. The opposition, the PNP, and their leader, Mark Golding, have raised some pretty big concerns. What are their main sticking points?
Well, the PNP broadly supports the idea of a republic, but they're very clear about their conditions. Their biggest issue, as we're seeing, is that they want the removal of the monarch to happen at the same time that the UK Privy Council is replaced with the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, as Jamaica's highest court of appeal.
So the Privy Council versus the CCJ, that's another whole debate, isn't it? What's the reasoning behind linking these two issues? I mean, they seem kind of separate on the surface.
Right. But for the PNP, it's about ensuring a complete break. Full independence. They argue that if you're going to have your own head of state, you should logically have your own final court of appeal, too. To them, still relying on the Privy Council even after becoming a republic would mean holding on to a colonial legacy in a really crucial part of the legal system.
So they're saying it's about aligning the symbolic with the actual concrete change. What's been the reaction from the government to all of this? I mean, this has to have caused some tension, right?
Yeah, definitely. Golding has been very vocal in his criticism, saying there hasn't been enough discussion or consultation on these reforms. It's gotten to the point where he's actually suspended the PNP's participation in any committee meetings about this.
Wow.
He says they'll stay out of it until Prime Minister Holness makes a clear commitment about the Privy Council issue. So it's a significant sticking point, and it'll be interesting to see how they resolve it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So even though they agree on the end goal, becoming a republic, there's this big disagreement on the specifics and the timing. So turning to the people of Jamaica now, how is all of this being received? What are the general feelings out there?
Well, the reports show that it's a mix of opinions and emotions, honestly. There's definitely a wave of support, especially rooted in those ideas of history and symbolism. A lot of people see this as the final step to really claiming their independence and closing the chapter on the colonial era. And for those who see the monarchy as a lingering reminder of slavery and all the pain associated with that, this transition holds a lot of emotional weight.
Yeah, and we've got this quote from Stephen Golding of UNIAACL, who says, "This move would honor Jamaica's ancestors and signify true liberation." It really highlights that depth of feeling.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the past either. Younger Jamaicans are also very enthusiastic about this.
Yeah.
They talk about breaking free from metaphorical chains, achieving mental emancipation. They want a leader who really embodies Jamaican identity, someone they can connect with. It's really inspiring, actually.
It's interesting, right, to see how the different generations are thinking about this. What do the overall public opinion polls tell us?
Well, polls over the last several years have shown a general upward trend in support for becoming a republic. A 2022 survey indicated that 56% of Jamaicans want to remove the monarch as head of state. So there's definitely growing momentum.
That's a pretty clear majority. But it's not everyone, right? What about the folks who are less sure about all of this? What are their concerns?
Yeah, there are definitely some reservations out there. Some people are worried that becoming a republic won't make any practical difference in their lives. It'll be symbolic, but will it impact their jobs, their health care, the things that matter day to day? And those are valid concerns, for sure.
Right. Symbols are important, but people want to see real change.
Exactly. And then there's the fact that King Charles himself doesn't seem to generate a lot of strong feelings one way or the other. A lot of Jamaicans feel pretty indifferent towards him, like the monarchy is just this faraway thing that doesn't really affect them. It's more about Jamaica's identity than anything else, it seems.
So it sounds like the government is aware that they need to do some explaining.
Yeah, they know that a lot of people are still unsure about what it all means. And that's why they're putting so much emphasis on public education campaigns before the referendum. It's all about making sure that Jamaicans feel informed when they make this decision.
And this isn't happening in isolation, right? I mean, Barbados became a republic a few years back. Does that have any impact on what's happening in Jamaica?
Definitely. Seeing other Caribbean nations take this step provides context and, maybe even a little bit of encouragement and kind of reinforces the idea that this is a natural progression for the region.
So as we look ahead, what are the biggest challenges that still need to be addressed for Jamaica to actually make this transition?
The big one is still that political disagreement about the court system. Finding a compromise that satisfies both the government and the opposition will be key to getting those constitutional amendments passed. And then there's the timing issue. With a general election coming up next year, that could really complicate things.
But the government seems confident about getting this done this year.
Yeah, they're aiming for it. But it all comes down to navigating those political complexities and, of course, getting that yes vote in the referendum.
So just to recap, Jamaica has taken concrete steps by introducing legislation to establish a republic. They're looking to replace King Charles with a Jamaican president. There's broad support for the idea, but there are some strong dissenting voices, especially when it comes to the court system. And the Jamaican people have a whole range of feelings about it all, from excitement to concern.
That's a great summary. It really captures the complexities of what's going on.
This has been a really fascinating discussion. It's incredible to see this historic moment unfolding in Jamaica. With all these different perspectives and all this political back and forth, what do you think will be the deciding factor in whether this succeeds? Is it going to be how they handle the legislation, or is it about finding that political unity, or is it ultimately going to be about what the people of Jamaica truly want and understand about this change? It's a pretty big question to ponder.